There we go. Hello from Carlton, Minnesota. Welcome. So, yep, in the chat I put, please let me know where you're from. Share it in the chat. I'm going to ask everybody to remain muted unless you have a question. We have to recognize that resilience and recovery. It is a good avocado. Representative can't retrieve an eagle. It's okay. So while we get ready, here's the poll that I wanted everyone to take. Let's see what everyone has to say about it. So we have two views tonight. You can either view me face forward, or you can view the workstation view. Either one, you just have to pin the one you want. Ah, nobody's cooking along. Okay, that means I can just be speedy gun, which is completely fine. No one so far. Oh, one person is. Maybe two. Nope, just one. People. Well, good. Please speak up if I'm going too fast, if you need me to slow down. I'm totally fine with all of that. Or if you have a question while we go along, all of that's great. By the way, I'm Jennifer. I am not only your facilitator, but also your instructor tonight. I work with Whole Foods Co-op in Duluth, Minnesota, where it is a balmy 0 degrees, and we have probably a good 2 feet of snow up the hill where I am. So again, let me know where you're all joining in from. Boston, hello. Buffalo, New York, my mom was from Tonawanda. Baltimore, awesome. Brooklyn, welcome. Reno, fabulous. Thank you all for sharing. It's nice we have so many people from so many areas of the United States. If you haven't had a chance yet to take the poll, feel free to do so. This class will be recorded, so if for some reason something goes awry and you're unable to finish the class tonight, you can go ahead and look for the video. You can email me at jgilbertson@hotmail, that's my wrong address, jgilbertson@wholefoods.coop. Welcome from LA and St. Paul, thank you. Pasadena, awesome. Yes, please enable live transcript. We also have a transcript going tonight. So if you have difficulty understanding me, you'll be able to read that. Hopefully it will be clear as it translates what I'm saying with my Minnesota accent. All right. So we're going to get started pretty soon. And let's see. Sorry, we've got one person who's emailing me that they're stuck. Okay, let's see here. Back to my screens. There we go. Terrific. Okay, so we have two folks cooking along with us. That's excellent. So for those of you who are cooking along, I'm just going to end the poll. You're going to want to preheat your oven to 425 degrees. We're going to start with the sheet pan Cuban chicken and citrus avocado salsa. So that's our first recipe for this evening. And again, for the latecomers, there are two views. You can either view me straight ahead, And we're going to move the camera back just a little bit so you get a little more of the workspace. Or you can pin the other view, which is my workspace. It's not fancy from up above or anything like that. That's perfect. Thank you, Lucy. All right. Okay. And I'm just checking the chat to see what's going on. Oh, thank you very much for sharing the recipes again. I appreciate that. They should have been included in your email, your original email when you sign up for the class. Usually we'll have the links to the recipes. It kind of depends on timing. So let's see. Yep, we'll mute everybody. There will be a little bit of feedback because I'm recording this on my phone. And I can't fully mute that for some reason. You can still hear it. Whoa, welcome from Utah. Thank you for joining us. Okay, perfect. Lutzen in Minneapolis, another Bostonite, or Bostonian, I guess that would be, right? Okay, folks, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So again, welcome, I'm Jennifer. I am your instructor. A few things to know about me as an instructor. I am pretty much completely self-taught. I've taught over 100 classes through the co-op, as well as throughout the community of Duluth for various institutions like the public library, Parks and Rec, different classrooms. So there's been a wide variety of experience, but for the most part, I have not been trained in this. I haven't gone to school for this. My classes are purely about the love of cooking, trying new foods, trying new recipes, and maybe potentially coming back from errors and mistakes because everybody makes them, right? I've learned a couple things. You need to be careful when you add salt, and you can almost never recover from burned garlic. So with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and get started. So I've got some skin on boneless chicken breasts. I'm sorry, these are chicken thigh. You can use breast, you can also use skinless if that is your choice. Either way will work, but I think you're gonna want to adjust your cooking time based on those different proteins. Okay, so that's our oven is ready to roll. And again, if you're cooking along, this is when you're going to want to preheat the oven. So we're just going to put the chicken breasts on our sheet pan, which I've prepared with parchment paper, but you can go without, that's completely fine. I'm going to wash my hands again. And that will happen throughout the evening for sure. All right, so the next thing we need to do is we're going to combine the chicken with some olive oil, some garlic, some oregano, and the spices. But first I'm not going to do the olive oil first. I'll wait until I've got everything else chopped and prepared, and then we'll do it all together. So I've got my garlic here, and I'm just going to crush the garlic. I just want to make sure we don't have anybody in our waiting room, which is looking good right now. So I'm just taking the flat of my knife, smashing the garlic. So you might be wondering why a Cuban class being taught by an Irish-German person living in Duluth, Minnesota. Lucy, there's someone in the waiting room. And the reason for that is I fell in love with Cuban food and music, to be honest, in a number of different ways. When I was in college, I had a roommate named Carlos, who was 50% Cuban. His father was native Cuban, and he would take us to his family dinners, and they were always wonderful affairs. It was always funny when we first met Carlos. He was the only blonde-haired, blue-eyed Cuban I'd ever seen. But of course, that was his mom's side of the family. All right, so we're going to chop up our garlic here. And that was when I was living in Minneapolis. And there also opened a really awesome restaurant in South Minneapolis called Victor's 1959 Cafe. And I don't know if you ever watched Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, but that cafe was featured on that show. And it was a really awesome episode. The owner, who's still the owner but no longer cook, they're the owner-operator now, Nikki, was super fun to watch. And they made excellent food, picadillo, ropa vieja, like it's all really delicious. And so we would go there periodically and eat. And then a trip to Miami kind of sealed my fate as far as Cuban food goes. I just fell in love with it. All the different flavors. But primarily it's pretty simple. There's not a whole lot of things to it. Like, I'm making 3 recipes tonight, and I think the total receipt came to less than $50, which is pretty decent. Okay, so we've got our garlic. Next, we're going to do some oregano. We need a 1/4 cup chopped oregano. So we're just going to strip the stems. You can just take your fingers and run them right down. The stems are pretty woody, so we don't want to include those. You can include the tops of the stems. Those are pretty fine. I just love the smell of fresh oregano. When I was reading up on different Cuban techniques and ingredients, they mentioned black oregano, which is not something I've ever seen before available in Minnesota. Maybe you can find it in your neck of the woods. It's definitely not a common form of oregano in this area. All right, so we're just picking through. And again, we need a 1/4 cup of this. So I was, again, studying up on this because I like to have a lot of facts when I'm cooking. Otherwise, why even bother watching, right? You're here to learn a little bit, I hope. And so I'm gonna check out my notes just to make sure I get this correct because I don't want to misquote things. But Cuban cuisine is a mix of Taínos, which is the native culture in Cuba, and then Spanish colonizers, so Spanish cuisine. And then we've got West African slaves who influenced the cuisine. And then the Canary Islands is another one. Oh, and by the way, if you're watching this and something goes glitchy for you or you're having difficulty with the video, feel free to leave the room and then come back in. We'll readmit you. Sometimes it's just you gotta leave and come back, and that helps reset things. All right, we're getting there with the oregano. So I was really, kind of enthralled by the fact that all of these different nations had a role to play in the cuisine. All right, that looks to be about a 1/4 cup. It'll be a little bit less when we get it all chopped up. I'm just gonna move my garlic aside so you can see the oregano pile. So I'm just gonna make a nice little pile and then just chop through. So Cuban cuisine in general is a really substantial form of food. There's a lot of starchy, fatty, and salty elements to Cuban cuisine. And then it's broken up with the bright notes of citrus and vinegar, and then sweet notes like raisins. So if you have a picadillo, that's going to have raisins in it and olives. So you get a little bit of sweet and salty. And then the capers are generally used. Okay, so we've got our fresh oregano, our garlic. So we're going to do our 1/4 cup of olive oil. So just a really generous drizzle. You'll find that I don't do a ton of actual measurement. So I'm just going to sprinkle the garlic and the oregano right over top of the chicken. We'll massage everything and move it all around in a minute. And that's why I like cooking, because you don't have to do a ton of measuring. Okay, next, we need a teaspoon of cumin. So we've got some organic cumin here. A teaspoon is about the size of your cup palm, maybe a little bit more. And just sprinkle that around. Cayenne pepper. So this is half a teaspoon. And again, we're going to mix this with our hands a little bit, so it doesn't have to be exact, and it doesn't have to be distributed evenly right now. Okay, so now we need orange juice and orange zest. So I have a couple of oranges. For the juice, I put this in the microwave for 20 seconds, and that's just going to help release those juices a little bit more. Now I am just taking my zester, and it says 2 tablespoons. I've got a couple oranges here because we're also going to put some orange slices on top. And there is orange in the actual salsa that we'll be making to go along with this. So you don't want to go too deep when you're zesting your orange. You don't want to see the white, which is the pith, and the pith is very bitter. So we don't want that. Okay, we're getting down to it. And of course, you want to make sure that you wash your produce, especially if you're going to be zesting. All right. So we're going to take that zest, just sprinkle it around, and again, it doesn't have to be evenly distributed. All right, we also need the zest and juice of 1 lime. And I did the same thing. I put this in the microwave for 20 seconds. That's just going to help loosen up those juices and release a lot better. You can also roll it on the countertop using pressure with your hands, and that's also going to release the juice. And same as the orange, you don't want to go too deep so that you see the white. That's still going to be bitter. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Maybe a little bit more. I just love zest. It has so much aroma and flavor to it. Alrighty. So there we go with that. And then we need a sprinkle of salt. I've got zest all over my fingers. And a little bit of pepper. it. And we're just going to mix this around. Make sure that all gets covered with all that good stuff. If you see a little bit more in one spot versus the other, get it on top. Great. Okay, I'm gonna go rinse my hands off. I'll be right back. Smells really good so far. Oh, we need to get the juice on there. Forgot about that part. No big deal. So I was really hoping we would have some navel oranges, or I'm sorry, Caracaras, because they're such a pretty color. They're almost like a blood orange, and they taste more like grapefruit than like orange, to me at least. So we're just going to squeeze those juices. It's okay if a couple seeds get in there, no big deal. If you have a citrus juicer, you can use that. Great, and then we have to add our lemon juice, or I'm sorry, lime juice. You can use lemon, that would be fine. It wouldn't taste the same, but it'd be good. A fork works really well too. If you've got a fork to hand, you can put it in there and kind of break up the pulp. Okay, I'm gonna put those aside for now. So next we need a sweet onion that we're going to slice. So I'm just going to cut off both ends and cut straight down the middle. Move that outer layer. It's built more like a shallot than an onion. Okay. Pull off the film. That'll just burn off anyway. All right. So then we're just going to cut through the rainbow layer, just straight down. And again, I'm not able to see the comments while I'm cooking, so if you have questions, feel free to unmute briefly, ask your question, and then I'll do my best to answer it. Okay, so we've got our onion, and that's just gonna go around the sheet pan. We're going to give all of this another toss when all of the veggies are added, so don't worry about it too much. Move these aside. Alrighty. Then we've got russet potatoes. Now I've already peeled these and I've had them soaking in water so they wouldn't get brown. And yeah, so my daughter, 12-year-old Lucy, would like to come and cut the potatoes. I'm going to show you how to do it really quick. So we want to cut into wedges. So I'm going to cut straight down the middle. These are russets, so they're a little harder. So straight down the middle and then right down through. Do you want to come and cut it? Changing your mind? I can? Okay. You sure? All right. Lucy helps me teach the kids in the kitchen cooking classes that we offer once a month. And the next one is coming up not this Saturday, but the next. And that is easy, healthy, and one other word, snacks. After school, I think maybe it says that. I'm not sure. Okay. Yeah, I thought we had pepper in this. I guess we don't. Oh, yes, we do. 1 bell pepper. So I tell this to everybody who takes one of my classes about bell peppers. If it has 3 chambers, so 1, 2, 3, it's considered a male pepper. If it has 4, which this one technically has 3, it looks like it wants to have 4, but it doesn't really, that's considered female. And really, it's just a classification thing. There's no such thing as a male or female plant. It's more because the males are not quite as sweet as the female peppers. And they're supposed to have fewer seeds. That's the big difference. But it's just a way to classify. I'm working at the co-op. I've seen peppers that have 5 chambers. I've seen 2 chambers. So it doesn't always fit that mold. But for the most part, they do. All right, and I'm just cutting these into wedges also. And right on. And then 1 small orange sliced, but instead of an orange, I'm gonna do a grapefruit because like I said, I was really hoping for a Caracara and that didn't happen because we were out. So what I'm going to do is go straight down through. I'm not going to use the ends. Looks like I need to sharpen my knife a little. So instead I'll use a serrated knife. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but this year's citrus season has been really weird. Like we've got Caracaras in super early. We haven't seen any kumquats yet. We got Buddha's hand before Thanksgiving, which is very unusual for us. I'm just looking forward to when the blood oranges show up. Did you want one? I don't know what's going on over there. I want that one. Oh, sorry. Okay. So the last thing we're going to do is a little bit more olive oil across the top. And a little bit more salt and pepper. And then this is ready for the oven. It's going to be about 40 minutes, 45 minutes or so before it's done. And we're going to give it a turn about halfway through. So we'll toss everything again. This is just regular cracked pepper. Nothing exotic for this one. All right, that's ready to go. All right, so I have a convection oven, so it might get ready quicker just because that convection, it has a fan that gets the heat circulating. Alrighty, I'm going to clean off my workstation a little bit. And then we're going to move on to the salsa, because the salsa can sit for a little while. The citrus in the salsa will keep the avocado from browning. which will be nice. And I see that somebody wants to enter, but I can't tell if they've been in yet. So we'll just go ahead and do that. Okay, so for the salsa, we need an avocado.
Hey, Jennifer, I have two questions for you.
Sure.
One is I saw you used fresh oregano. And
I did.
Yeah, I'm sure that's dynamite, but I always have dried oregano in the house. Would you substitute that?
You sure can. It wouldn't take nearly as much because it's a little more concentrated.
Yeah.
So I'd say probably a tablespoon would be adequate.
Would you say that it's the fresh oregano is a significantly a significant desire for this dish, or dried oregano is pretty good?
I'd say it's interchangeable.
Oh, really? Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's so much more expensive to buy the fresh oregano when you have, dried oregano in the closet,
Right. Yeah, that's for sure. And it doesn't last very long. So if you have it.
Definitely right. Also, Caracara, I have no knowledge of what that is. Maybe you want to talk about that.
Yeah, definitely. So Caracara is a different kind of orange, very similar to navel orange. It's kind of a cross between a navel and a grapefruit. So it has a reddish tinge to it, and it's a little more sour sweet than sweet. So it's not quite as sour as grapefruit can be, but they're just delicious. I love grapefruit, so it just kind of makes sense. But it's definitely in that navel orange family.
What does it look like?
Same as regular orange. Yeah.
Oh, really? Uh-huh.
Yep.
Excellent. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking. Okay, so I've got my avocados here. And, telling the ripeness of an avocado is kind of an art. You don't want it to be smushed. You don't want it to be easily giving when you squeeze it. You want it to have a little bit of give. Also where the stem was, that's called the navel. And if it is dark brown or a tannish brown, that means it's probably overripe. So not good to use. But this one feels really good. Oh, it looks great. It's perfect. So we're going to get that pit out, which you want to be really careful getting these out, and this one's just not going to be cooperative. But that's okay. It'll come. I've seen video where people will squeeze the avocado from behind and shoot the pit out. I've never been able to do that. If it's ripe enough that will happen, usually it means that it's a little too ripe. So I'm just going to take my knife and score it. You can definitely take a spoon and scoop out the fruit and then cut it. To each his own. But we just want to dice our avocados. Yeah, so that method of whacking the pit to get it out, you want to be really careful with that. I have a friend that ended up having to get stitches twice because evidently they didn't learn their first lesson. So this also kind of reminds me of ceviche, which, if you're not familiar, ceviche is a seafood dish where the fish or shellfish are put in raw, and then the acidic nature of the citrus cooks the fish, which is incredible. I had a class a long time ago where I made a white fish ceviche, so like a trout ceviche. It was really interesting. Alrighty, so let's see, what do I need? I think we'll take this bowl. Usually you see shrimp as the ceviche seafood of choice, but you can do just about anything and it'll work. Next month, I'm teaching a celebrating citrus class, which I just love citrus, and it's so versatile. And it's great to use for savory, it's great to use for sweet. So I'm doing vegan ceviche. So it's more like a salsa. So we're just getting all those diced avocado out. Okay, there we go with that. We got a little bit left. We don't want to waste any of our avocado. And we do love some avocado. Okay, some orange diced. So what I'm going to do with this orange is I'm going to take off the outer layer. And I'm just going to cut around the outside. You could definitely peel it the normal way. So you're just going to follow your knife around the curve of your orange. I could have used that grapefruit in the salsa recipe. It would probably be delicious. But I thought, you know, let's use the orange juice and zest. It's already starting to smell delicious in here, everybody. Okay, so we've got just a little bit more pith to get off. Sorry about the knife noises. Okay, so we're just going to cut down the middle. And then give it a dice. You want it to be roughly the same size as the avocado. So one of the fun facts that I share when I go to elementary schools, middle schools, is the other name for avocado is the alligator pear, which I think makes complete sense. They have skin kind of like an alligator, but they're pear-shaped. Alrighty, so there's our diced orange. But just think how pretty it would look if you had a Caracara orange in that kind of reddish, pinkish orange color. It would be so nice in this. And we're just going to move all of this to the side. Next we need some, my hands just aren't big enough. Cilantro. There's a fair amount of cilantro in this, so heads up for those of you who maybe don't care for cilantro. I myself love it. So we've got a nice head of cilantro right here. And you can use the stems and all. There's no reason why you can't. We have a fairly well-known chef restaurateur that was in the Duluth area, and he kind of dispelled that myth for me that you can't use the stems. Alrighty, so that looks to be about a cup, and we're just going to go chopping away. Check to see what time the chicken went in the oven. Probably about 7 minutes ago, so at 6:30. So at just before 7 o'clock, we'll give it a check and give it a stir. Okay, so all of that goes in. And now there are people out there, and I know they exist because my husband is one of them, that do not care for cilantro. They say it tastes like soap, which is because it has saponin in it. And that's one of the major components of making soap. Okay, so 1 jalapeno seeded and chopped. Now, if you like things super spicy, feel free to leave those seeds in. That's up to you. However, being that we're in Minnesota, I'm gonna get the seeds out. And it's still gonna be what we know as Minnesota spicy, maybe even a little hotter than Minnesota. So I'm just gonna take my spoon and just get those membranes out. Really, it's the membranes that cause the heat, not the seeds. It's just that the seeds are coated in the oils that are within the membrane, and that's why everybody says, oh, it's the seeds. It's really the membranes. Okay. So my knife is a little too dull to cut skin side, so I'm going to turn it over and cut through the inner side. And that's good for all peppers. If you're going to cut a pepper, you never want to cut skin side down, especially if your knife isn't super sharp. That's just a recipe for it to slip and somebody to get injured. So just keep walking your fingers back away from that blade. And this I'm going to chop up nice and fine. You can leave the pieces bigger if you like a bigger punch of flavor and spice. Really, this is super customizable, so it's up to you. Leave those membranes and seeds in, and it'll be nice and spicy and hot. Take them out, it'll be a little bit more mellow. You could certainly use just half of a jalapeno. That's completely fine too. It'll just give you a little bit of heat. Over the years, I have been steadily conditioning myself to appreciate spice a little bit more. In my household growing up, chili spice was too spicy for my dad. So we didn't have a whole lot of spicy foods. Okay, and now the juice of 1 lime. This one I did not microwave. So I'm just going to roll it across the countertop. Again, breaking up that pulp a little bit. So it's nice and squishy and soft. And this one, I want to get as much juice out of it as possible, so I'm going to use my citrus juicer. So you put it in pulp side up to start. And squeeze it right over. There is holes in the bottom, but usually I find that it just goes out the sides until you flip it. So you peel it off. It's a good amount of suction there. And then you can do it straight down. Lots of learning when it comes to these doohickeys, right? And if you've ever been shot in the eye with citrus, you learn ways to let that happen again. Okay. So then we're going to add some Himalayan sea salt. There for now. I add these from before. So this is just that pink Himalayan sea salt. Pretty generous pinch. And we just give it a stir. So it's going to be a nice, fresh, vibrant green and yellow. And this will be perfect on top of that chicken and the potatoes and onions and peppers. And you know, like any good cook, you got to give it a taste, right? I think I'll get a different spoon though. There you go. Or just a fork. Try to get a little bit of everything in there. That was really good. Whew, I'd make that for lots of different things. Okay, so that's the first recipe. Sheet pan Cuban chicken and avocado citrus salsa. So next we are going to move on to the frijoles negros, or quick and easy Cuban black beans. I'm gonna get a new cutting board. Although really we don't have a whole lot more to chop, so that's cool. Just move some things out of the way. So we've got 2 cans of black beans. We don't want those drained. We've got another onion. We're going to need smoked paprika. We're going to need scallions, another jalapeno, some coriander, which is basically just the seed of cilantro. And in fact, everywhere else in the world, they call cilantro coriander. And then they call the seed coriander seed. It's only in the United States that we call it cilantro, and then everything else is coriander. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is just prep my veggies. So we've got 4 or 5 cloves of garlic that we need to smash and chop up. So same technique as before. Crushing them with the side of your knife just really helps to get that skin off, because that can sometimes be sticky and difficult to remove. So we're just going to get those off. If any of you are joining me and have taken my classes in person in the past, you know I've always said that I want one of those garlic removal, the silicone tubes that you just put in and the garlic comes off, or the skin comes off. We also experimented once in the class and tried putting the cloves into a glass jar with a lid and then shaking the lid around, or the glass jar around. Here, hold on, we've got some folks joining us. There we go. That did not work very well. Just so you know. Maybe if I had smashed the cloves first, the skin would have come off. Who knows? Alrighty. So again, just chopping, mincing our garlic. That smashing does a twofold thing. It helps you get the skins off, and then it helps get them broken down faster. You could use a garlic press, but I find I always end up having to chop more. So I might as well not dirty another utensil and just chop it this way. But I also like chopping. It's kind of methodic. I like to see how fine I can get things. So just moving your knife around, kind of angling it back and forth. And then don't forget to clean it off, because there's always going to be some that stick, bigger pieces and all. I don't mind chopping into a nice big piece of garlic. Some people, though, do mind. And really, this is also depending on your taste. If you like a lot of garlic, feel free to add more. Nothing wrong with garlic. Okay, we've got a white onion. I find that the white onion, as opposed to the sweet onion or the yellow onion, has really much more papery skin to it. So now with all of these veggie trimmings, you can save them, freeze them, and then eventually turn, when you have a good amount of different things, carrots and celery and potatoes and onion, garlic skins, you can boil those and make your own veggie broth. So if you're ever looking for a way to repurpose your waste, the stuff that you don't want to use in the actual recipe, that's a good use for it. Okay, and again, I'm just cut it in half and go down through the rainbow. And these are about 1/4 to a 1/2 inch size in dice. So not super fine, but not super chunky either. Granted though, if you really like chunky onion, which I don't mind depending on the dish, then, cut it a little bigger. There's no right or wrong with that. Okay. Now chop up the green onion. I just want to make sure how much. 4. So scallion is just another word for green onion, which, ask me how I found that out. It was a long time ago when I first started using recipes to cook versus, the recipe on the outside of a box, or, stuff that I learned, from my mom. So I was in the grocery store and the recipe called for scallions, and I'm looking around and could not find any scallions. Luckily, there was somebody working in the produce department. And so I just went up to him and said, do you have scallions? And he said, no, we don't. So I called up my sister. This is before you had the world in the palm of your hand in the form of your cell phone. So I called her up when I knew she'd be at work and she could look it up on the computer. And she's like, oh, it's just green onion. Lo and behold, they have a whole section of green onion. So the poor produce guy didn't know what a scallion was either. But if you've only ever heard it referred to as green onion, then, same as me. Okay, last thing we're going to chop is our green bell pepper. I'm just going to push all this aside. And again, I'm unable to see the chat while I'm doing all of this. So if you have a question or if there's something you wanted to ask, feel free to unmute and let me know. So with the green pepper, same as the red pepper, I didn't explain this part. So I'm holding it bottom side down, and I'm taking my knife and I'm just going through the outside. And what that does is it keeps all the seeds attached, hopefully, unless you've got a lot of seeds. And it also helps you clear out most of the membrane. And then you can cut through the bottom, so you can use that. You can also cut through the very top. So nothing is wasted. Okay, great. And then you can just pop out the little top. And then we can use all of this. So nice chop to these. I'm running out of space on my chopping board. I might need a new one. We'll make it work. I don't want to dirty up more stuff than I have to. I'm going to end up having to clean it all later, right? And I don't have an assistant to do that.
It's a nice chopping board too.
Thanks. These are locally made. It's an Epicurean, if you're not familiar. They're made from recycled products and they're super durable. They last forever. My cutting board's getting away from me though. You might notice that I have a towel underneath, which is supposed to help from slipping, but really I just need a silicone mat.
Right.
Okay, make a little bit more room. This is all going to go in at various times, so it can touch each other. That's fine. Okay, a couple more chops to go.
Your recipe has written asks for only a half cup or a half a large pepper.
Oh, well, there you go. Thank you for giving me that. I appreciate it. We'll save it.
I've become your assistant, your sous chef here.
Yes, I love it. Okay, so there we go. We are going to start the actual cooking process. I'm going to move this for now. Shove some things over. Oh, we're gonna still have to dice a jalapeno. Let's get that done quick. And how much jalapeno does it say? 1 large. Again, customizable, do it to your taste. If you don't care for a lot of spice, do half. Also, you could use a different kind of pepper if you wanted to. If you have a poblano, you could do that.
You know what, Jennifer? The same way that you just cut that green pepper is the way that I cut jalapenos. Keeping the core intact and slicing it down on the sides.
Oh, I love that idea. I'm going to try that next time. Thanks for the hit. I will say this, though. If you're going to work with poblanos, don't make the mistake I did, which is think that they're not nearly as strong as a jalapeno. I did some stuffed poblanos for, I think, a football party a couple of years ago. Didn't wear gloves and just cleared everything with my fingers. I got chemical burns. It was not a fun evening. I ended up sitting with frozen vegetables in my hands the whole night.
Maybe you could have soaked your hands in milk, perhaps.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. I probably should have.
Probably, yeah.
Rub them in yogurt or sour cream. Okay, so again, nice fine dice with these, more of the mince.
It's one way to be the talk of the party.
Yeah, more the sympathy of the party. Okay, so I've got my little camp stove here. My kitchen is great for filming dead on, but my stove is right here, so it's not great for actual cooking. But these camp stoves are awesome, so we're gonna get rolling with that. So I've got my ancient pot. Alrighty, so we've got more olive oil, a couple turns of the pan. Again, you don't have to be exact. You just want it to coat the bottom. And then we're gonna wait and let this get warm. Once we see that start to shimmer a little bit, and this is gonna come up really fast, so just be prepared. I'm gonna tone it down just a little bit. And check everything. So we're gonna add the onions, scallions, jalapenos, and bell peppers, not the garlic right away. And then we will add the garlic after a couple minutes, 4 or 5 minutes. We'll add the garlic and our spices. Now, traditional Cuban black beans, that's an all-day affair. Actually, it's probably a couple days because I'm sure they have to soak the beans overnight if they're not doing canned beans. And traditional, you would probably use dried beans. And then it's all day on the stove, checking it, stirring it. So this is a quick recipe, but it's still super flavorful. Okay, and this is coming up really fast. And yep, I see some ripples. So we're gonna get everything thrown in. Right, I'm gonna wash my hands real quick after I give this a stir. What we're doing, we're just sweating the onion and the peppers, cooking them down so that they're softened, but not caramelized or anything like that. I got a couple seconds to wash my fingers. time we got? I've got to check our chicken. So this is gonna work for a little bit. I'm gonna check that chicken and see where we're doing. Oh, it's starting to look good. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's looking pretty good. So let's see, I've got some tongs. I'm just gonna flip the chicken and then stir everything around. All right, back in the oven it goes.
No.
Okay, everything here is looking pretty good. I'm starting to sweat down, get translucent, so a little bit clear. Not the peppers, of course. All right, hold on 1 second. There we go. Also, we can go back in the chat if you have questions. If you don't want to unmute, you can throw them in the chat and I'll check it out when we get done cooking. Okay, garlic goes in next, and then we're going to add the spices. So for spices, we need a tablespoon of cumin. I'm sorry, a teaspoon of cumin. I'm sorry. There we go. So again, about a palmful, unless you have really large hands. Then you want to be careful.
That's ground cumin.
What's that?
Ground cumin.
Yes, ground cumin. Okay, and then half each of oregano and the ground coriander. And again, that's just the seeds of the cumin. Where did I put that? There it is. This one I'm going to actually use half. There we go. And then an 1/8 teaspoon of smoked paprika, which, if you're debating whether or not you have smoked paprika versus regular paprika, you can totally smell the difference. So that's not asking for a whole lot, just an 1/8 of a teaspoon. So a tiny amount. But I'll just give it that punch. Okay, give that a stir. And what we're doing when we're doing this is we're actually toasting those spices a little bit. It really develops the flavor, warms them up, opens them, makes them bloom, I guess is the technical term. Okay, now we add our black beans, and it's the aquafaba and all, so don't drain your black beans. Okay, our next step, we're going to add some water. So 1 cup of water and 2 small bay leaves. Did I get a cup out? I guess not. Here, that. I like this recipe because you can easily cut it in half. And then we got our bay leaves.
Jennifer, you have a question in the chat.
Sure. Let's see. Oh yeah, definitely. I can describe how to cut a green pepper again. Okay, we got our bay leaves in. So just give me 1 second to clear some space. And stir this around so that those bay leaves get submerged. Okay, we're gonna bring this up to a boil, which won't take long. And then we're going to cover and simmer, so we'll turn it down again. Okay, so the green pepper, say this is the outside of your green pepper, the top would be right here, that's the bottom. So what you do is you just cut through the outside layer. So you don't cut off the top, you don't have to, you can hold on to the top as you cut around, and you just cut right down the outside so that you miss most of the pith, the spine, and then you can chop it up, cut up the bottom, cut off the top, and then what's left is all the seeds. So pretty easy. Okay, I just wanted to check my notes, make sure we've got everything in there. So it's coming up pretty quick here. And it's not going to take long. And again, this is one of those customizable recipes. If you want it to be thicker, you could mash some of these black beans. You could omit some of the water, but a lot of this water is going to evaporate through the cooking process, so it's not really necessary. If you want it a little more soupy, then you could add a little more water. So it's really up to you how you like your black beans. Traditionally, the black beans are served with rice. So I do have some rice, but I'm not going to cook the rice. I'm cheating, and I've got one of those microwave bags. All right, find a lid. And actually, I'm going to move this over to the stove because we are going to move on to the fried plantains. Give me 1 second to clear off my space and to get a cutting board. Okay, we'll let that drink for just a second. There they are. Now I'm going to take a second to stir up that salsa. All of those flavors are really starting to meld and blend. Oh, it smells so good. Okay, so now there's a couple different recipes with plantains that are pretty much a staple of Cuban cuisine. So there's the Tostones, which are green plantains, so the unripe plantains that you cut and you fry and then you smash them so they're flat, and then you refry them. And that they use to, it's as a vehicle for a lot of different things. So you could put ropa viejo on it, you could do ceviche. So it's a lot like a thick tortilla at that point. But this recipe, the fried sweet plantains, you want to use ripe plantains. And when I say ripe, they look pretty rotten, right? They don't look ripe, they look past ripe. But that's what you want. The first time I ever had fried plantains was in Spanish class in high school. And unfortunately, being that we were in Minnesota, our instructor could not find plantains that were black. All she could find were the yellow banana colored ones. And so she fried them up, and I was hoping for a sweeter plantain experience. So when they are black like this, they're going to have developed those sugars that the other ones weren't. But don't get me wrong, these are not going to taste banana-y. They're still pretty starchy. They're not going to be overly sweet. So if you're wanting a sweeter experience, you could dip them in brown sugar or just white sugar and then fry them. You could do that. Okay, so this recipe called for 3, but I figured we didn't really need 3. So I'm just going to cut off the end. You'll find also that with the plantains, the skin tends to be a little thicker, especially near the stem. So, yep, I'm just going to keep cutting all the way around. Or all the way down, I should say. Because they're not going to peel like a regular banana. I'm trying not to break this guy. There we go. All right, checking on the black beans really quickly. They're boiling away. So I think at this point, I'm just going to turn them down and let them simmer without the lid. Because I kind of want them to be a little thicker. I don't really want them to be soupy. Again, personal preference. You can do whichever you prefer. And much like bananas, they have those strings on them. And they're very sticky to the peel. There we go, finally got that guy off. Before I start working on the other, I'm going to get our pan going with some oil. So just score the outside and try to get that peel off. Did you know that strawberries are not technically a berry, but that bananas are? It's another one of those fun facts I love to share with kids when I go talking at schools and stuff. Okay, so we've got our plantains that are skinless. We're going to cut these at a bias. So that just means cutting at an angle. And about 1/4 inch thick is pretty good. I actually bought these plantains on Monday because I was worried about them not getting black in time. They had some black spots, but not tons. But as you can see, they ripen pretty quickly. Excuse me for a sec. We got somebody entering our room and I cannot find, there it is. Could not see my cursor. Okay, we're gonna add some vegetable oil to our pan. Just enough to cover the bottom, really. About a 1/4 inch. Let that get hot. This one's pretty ripe. There's a ton of starch in plantain. Alrighty, so this is hot. We're going to add just a layer to our pan. You don't want to crowd your pan. That's going to take the heat of the oil down, and then your oil won't fry them. It'll just cause them to soak up the oil and get oily, greasy, and kind of mushy. So I've just got them set up. We're going to let them go. Let's see, for how long? About a minute or two per side, so it's not long at all. Checking the beans now. Oh, they're starting to really cook down. That's looking pretty good. I need another set of tongs. Definitely want to use a longer set. Ooh, these are nice and golden brown. Gonna need to get a pan out. Put them on. So depending on how ripe they are, they're going to caramelize more if there's more sugars in them. So you can tell how ripe some of these are compared to the others. Definitely the smaller of the two plantains was more ripe. Okay, now just working from where I started, I'm going to take them out. So now this is, if we were making tostones, we would be using the green plantain, so the unripened plantain, and we would smash these, usually with the base of a cup. I'm sure they have a special tool that they use, but the base of a mug or a cup would work just fine. And then you'd throw them back in and fry them up a second time. Couple more to go, and then we'll get into that second batch. So now you can see the difference between the raw and the cooked. We'll just get these last ones in. Got a little splash back there. All right, checking the beans again. They look really good. And I think we'll give them a taste just to see if I need to add any salt or anything. maybe some salt. But first things first, we gotta get these plantains turned. Really, by the time I turn these, I'll have to pick out the ones I just turned. There we go. Okay, that's that. These smell really good. So the rule with all frying foods is you want to make sure your oil is at a temperature, because again, if you're cooking in the wrong temp, it's just going to soak up that oil. You're just going to end up with something that's greasy versus fried. All right, those are the plantains. They didn't take very long at all, right? All right, I'm gonna clean up my spot just a little bit. Let those cool off before we try them. So now for me, I would probably add a little salt to this. And I just want to double check. Yep, salt and pepper to taste. So we're gonna add some salt. I did about a little less than a tablespoon. And then some pepper. Give that a stir. Okay, looking good. We're gonna give that another try. I lost my spoon. Oops, got a little on plantain. Oh well. Yep, that was just the right amount of each. All right, Lucy's gonna be our taste tester. They're hot, so give it a second. Okay, we still need to do some cilantro for the beans. So I better bring back my cutting board. Okay. Just in case I'm just gonna take that whole bunch out. So now you could dress your beans with fresh chopped onion, some fresh avocado. The salsa we made would be delicious on it. I'm gonna find that bay leaf first and try to, or both of those, and try to get those out before I stir that in. Okay, there's one. Oh, there it is. Okay. But it says here in the notes you could also add vinegar, which I think would taste really good. There's a lot of earthy flavors in the beans, and a splash of vinegar would just brighten that up a lot. You could also do some lemon juice, would also be, or sorry, lime juice, since we have limes. That would be delicious. In fact, I think I will do just a squeeze of lime. these from earlier. That's the thing I love about cooking. It's pretty subjective. Yes, Lucy. Oh, you like them?
It's kind of like banana bread.
Kind of like banana bread. Yeah, I can see that. It's, they're really starchy, but you got those sugars.
Can I add a little bit of brown sugar?
Sure.
It just needs a little bit sweet.
Okay, I'm gonna try one too.
That's like it tastes like banana bread. Banana bread, bananas.
Not bad. Now I can see where, if you wanted them sweeter, getting them a little dusty and brown sugar would be great. Maybe a little cinnamon on top. That might just be our, Midwestern sensibility. Okay. I think it's time to get the chicken out of the oven.
Bonnie S., can you please mute yourself because your screen is covering up so we can't see? Thank you.
Okay. What's being covered? I'm sorry.
We can't see what you're doing because Bonnie S. has her screen just black over everything.
Okay. There we go. We'll just mute. Oh boy. So this is our chicken. Got a nice char on the oranges. The skin looks really nice and crisped up. Gonna check the potatoes. Yep, everything looks really good. Okay, I said I was cheating with the making the rice, so the rice is cooking. Oh, Lucy, would you go in the bag and grab me one of my small white cups? Yes. Actually, two. No, bigger. There's the chicken and potatoes and onion. Get some of that salsa on top. Yeah. I'm gonna take a photo of it first.
You can take a photo of it. Of the chip.
I'm gonna plate up some of these beans. And bigger mess than I intended. Well, no, I didn't even cook the rice. It's sitting right here. Okay, we'll try that again.
Jen, would it be possible for you to tilt your camera in front of you so we can see lower?
Yes. I don't know why all of a sudden my pole came back up.
Not the side camera, but the one in front.
Sorry, what was that?
Not the side camera, but the one in front of you.
Oh, that one. Yeah, unfortunately, my front camera does not tilt, so I can hold up my plate so you can see it that
That would be
way.
better, thank you.
I have to invest in some better things. You know, we thought when we first started this that it was just going to be a short-term wait until we could have in-person classes again at the co-op. We are now over a year later. It's okay. At least we're still able to do this. And the fun part is I have so many people from throughout the country who are joining in. And in fact, sometimes internationally, which is super neat. So I don't mind. Like I said, I haven't invested in enough new things. I need some new gadgets. All right, that rice is almost done. So here's our cheat rice. I just chose basmati, but you know, whatever you have on hand, then white rice is fine. I just like basmati because it's usually not super sticky. It's got a nice light flavor to it. All right, and that is our plate. So we've got the fried plantains, our chicken, our beans, and our rice. So traditionally, you would take a little bit of rice and then take some of your beans, blow on it because I'm sure it's lava hot. Excellent flavor. Okay, and now we've got our chicken. I'm gonna need a knife for this. All the steak knives that I like to use are at the very bottom, of course. So again, we use the thighs. So a little bit darker meat. Breast meat probably would cook up a little faster. Oops, lost some. Nice, bright and fresh. You can definitely eat the plantains with the salsa. That would be delicious. We've got our potatoes. Oh, really, really good. Lucy is trying the salsa and plantain trick. Well, that's it for our class tonight, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this evening class. I hope you make these recipes yourself. Might be a fun dinner to make for some close friends or neighbors or family. But that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. Now I'm going to go back through the chat. Okay, let's see if there's any questions. So yeah, there were two ways to view. Sorry, I didn't catch that. You just had to pin whichever one you preferred. Okay. Green pepper. Awesome. Thank you so much for getting those printed out. That's really cool. As far as the metal container, I'd be interested to find out if that works for anybody. So if you try to peel garlic using a metal container versus a glass container, give me a text or an email. Let me know if that works out. Awesome. Okay, I don't really see any other questions. Getting down to the bottom. Thank you, Bruce. I'm glad you're here. Thanks from Winnipeg. Thank you so much. Well, I hope everybody maybe came away with something they didn't know from before. I hope you get to try these recipes yourselves. If you were cooking along, I hope you were successful and that everything turned out great. Well, good, Sandy. I'm glad you're hungry. So again, everybody, thank you so much. My next class is toward the end of February. I think it's February 24th. It's a Thursday, 6 p.m. And that's the Celebrating Citrus class. We're going to be doing the Avocado Ceviche, which is kind of similar to this, but different at the same time. We're going to do some seared scallops with a citrus ginger sauce. There are 2 other recipes, and right now I'm blanking on both of them. Sorry, Lucy's asking me a question. Also, we have the Kids in the Kitchen cooking classes. So a week from Saturday is the Easy, Healthy, Delicious class. And that's going to be snacks that kids can put together themselves that are super easy to do, but also healthy and delicious. And then next month, we are going to have a class right before St. Valentine's Day, and that's going to be all about chocolate because that's how we roll in this web. So everybody, again, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed. And if you would like to have a copy of this recording sent to you, it's going to be on our YouTube channel. But go ahead and send me an email at jgilbertson@wholefoods.coop. So wholefoods.coop. And I'll make sure to answer you probably Monday because it takes a while for these to download and then I'm off for the weekend. So take care, everybody. Enjoy. Have a great weekend. And we'll see you next time. Is there a link to sign up for the next class? Certainly. You can find it on Eventbrite. It's called Celebrating Citrus. Or you can find it on our website, which is www.wholefoods.coop/classes. So all of our classes, and we have a ton because we have them scheduled through June. So be on the lookout for movement classes, cooking classes, kids cooking classes, health and wellness classes. We offer everything and they're all free and they're going to remain virtual because unfortunately COVID. So everyone, again, take care. Hope I answered all your questions, but feel free to reach out if I didn't. Have a wonderful night.